Good evening. Welcome, everyone, to the next edition of Burn and Learn. I'm excited to be here back down in downtown Leesburg at Rebellion Cigar Lounge. I'm very excited about the conversation that we're going to have today. I want to always start out by thanking Justin, James, and Joel for the opportunity to use this venue. It's a great place to have a great conversation with great friends over a great stick and awesome bourbon. So looking forward to the conversation. I'm really looking forward to getting into the background for our two esteemed guests, Brad Jersey and Andrew Oldknow. So I'd love to maybe take a couple minutes for you guys to introduce yourselves and share your backgrounds.
You go first, young man.
Me? Andrew Oldknow, I'm the inventor of the Tübr cigar storage system that we've created that we're going to talk about today. I'm my business partner here with Brad Jersey. We've been working on projects together for many years, at least, 5 or 6 years now.
Yeah.
We've had some ups and downs, and we've learned along the roads, and we're really excited to be able to showcase what we're working on today.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Brad Jersey, I get the pleasure of being the managing partner of Tübr, along with some partners that aren't here with us that are furiously working in places like Oregon and all over the country. So it's been an awesome journey for us up to this point. A little bit about my background. I came out of the airline industry a number of years ago and then started producing events and trade shows and conferences all across the United States, and learned and applied a lot of those things all the way up to COVID. And then Andrew and I, in an unexpected fashion, which we'll probably talk about, had the opportunity to meet 5, 6, 7 years ago, and it's been a fun ride since that time. So it's a pleasure to be here with you tonight.
Great, awesome. I'm, again, ecstatic to be able to have you guys here.
Thank you.
Both traveling in from Oregon and from California here for the podcast. So thanks for that, for the dedication and providing the time and effort to get here. Absolutely appreciate that.
What a town and venue. Holy smokes. We drove here and it was awesome. We were like, holy, this is amazing. Yeah, so thank you.
No, great place. Again, love to get into the conversation. Appreciate you guys. And so again, for Burn and Learn, the Cigar a Lifestyle podcast, the burn part is we want to have an opportunity to have a great stick with great friends. But the learn is we want to spend that time together, not only enjoying a great stick, but also learning from the experiences, both professionally and personally, from our guests, right? So we will lean on you to better understand your story, understand your corporate experiences, and how those experiences shape where you guys are today. So looking forward to having that conversation.
Awesome.
But as it relates to Burn and Learn, one of the things we're also focused on is making certain that we're spending time as a corporation, as individuals, giving back to our communities, right? So one of the things that we want to focus on is, look, people spend time and they donate money and their resources to different charities. And so I've been spending time and donating my efforts and time into helping folks that have either recently been diagnosed with cancer or battling cancer right now. So, cancer is the type of thing that touches everyone's life.
Yeah.
So please, if you feel so inclined, spend a few minutes either dedicating time, energy, or effort, or making donations to the American Cancer Society. Again, their focus is eradicating this horrible disease, but in the meantime, helping families and helping patients that are afflicted live the best life that they can. So again, we want to take some time to recognize that and make certain that we stay grounded on where we are. So wanted to spend a couple minutes just talking about that. And then, for the burn part, part of what we do is selecting a stick, right? Davidoff, as you guys know, is my line. I've been really, the Davidoff, the late hour is my current stick of choice. It's a medium plus stick. I really enjoy it. Great kind of cedar, woodsy, peppery flavor profile, and I've really enjoyed it. It's one of my go-tos.
Awesome.
So I don't know if you guys have had an opportunity to try the late hour.
I haven't.
But I thought I'd bring it and have us just take a few minutes to just enjoy it during our conversation, and I'd love to know your thoughts about it. after you've had an opportunity to take a few puffs.
Yeah, this is right up my alley. I like bold cigars, so I've been doing a lot of the La Aroma de Cubas lately.
Okay.
The Mia Moores, one of my favorites. Might have to borrow one of your lighters there. I think this one's out.
There you go. Just press this. There you go.
But a big fan of Nicaraguan cigars, Maduro wrappers, Esteli products. So yeah.
Yeah, I would say right
Wow.
now, my go-tos are obviously Davidoff, almost anything Liga Privada,
Yeah.
and then Plasencia. Those three right there are like my go-tos right now.
Yeah. This is fabulous.
Yeah,
What are you thinking?
great.
Oh my gosh, this is fantastic.
Good. So I'd love to get into conversation, guys. We're here having great cigars. We're going to engage in an awesome conversation. How did you develop your affinity for cigars? How did that evolve?
Mine started a long time ago when I was in design school. I actually worked on a project that's very near to dear. This Robusto, and I was learning how to mill wood and aluminum and metals, and it was part of my learning of like how to create products and go from like visualization to manufacturing. And so I had an uncle who I used to hunt with when I was a kid, and so I was about 13 years old, and he was a big pipe smoker, and we would go dove hunting every year in Arizona. And I remember this clear as day. We were out in this. He would make friends with these farmers out there. Like during the year, he had friends who lived in Arizona. He had a business in Arizona, even though we lived in California. And he found a couple farmers that would allow us to go hunt on their property. And so one of them, was this big dairy farmer guy that had massive amounts of land, all the cows, and he would move his cows from one pasture to another. So we were able to hunt on this land that the cows had just previously grazed on.
Sure.
And it was filled with big cow patties, and I was like, 12 years old, and I was like, it smelled so bad. I was
You're like, what's
dying.
going on here?
And all of a sudden, my uncle just lights up his pipe in the morning, and I could just smell like the tobacco smoke coming across, and I'm like, I'm just gonna hunt next to my uncle all day long here. And it was like I fell in love with tobacco at the age of 12. Obviously, I wasn't smoking at that age, but just the aroma and like just the everything that comes with it, like the romance of the product and the way you light the product and like have these conversations, and it just became like this thing that gives me great memories of spending time with my uncle, who was like this amazing bird hunter that I used to hang out with as a child.
Yeah, no, I love that. As you guys know, like I enjoy cigars. Like I started probably in 95 or 96.
Okay.
My first job out of undergrad, I went to work at a bank.
Yeah.
And so, we worked all day taking customers out, working with customers on financing opportunities, and then in the evenings it was just bourbon and cigars. And
Yeah.
I was a young kid; I didn't know anything, right? So
Right.
they spent time helping me learn. So I have fond memories of that, and a number of those guys from that group I'm still in contact with, and it's been 30 years now. So it's just amazing, and I'm always look forward to having conversations over a great stick and over a great cigar, because it allows conversations to flow. Like I travel a lot, and when I travel, I tend to just Google and find a lounge, and I've never gone to a lounge where I've walked in and not walked out with friends.
Completely.
Absolutely.
And part of it's the conversation, but part of it's just the camaraderie and the community that you build over having a great stick.
Yeah. I would agree. And my story is very similar. It started a long time ago, growing up in western Pennsylvania, a little town and a little county that a lot of people are familiar with, Beaver County. And some tremendous athletes came out of there: Tony Dorsett, Pete Maravich, Mike Ditka. It was a great community. And when you think about Friday night lights and Tuesday, Friday night basketball, unbelievably, my grandfather had a bar from 1932 to 1982, Jersey's Corner. And it's where everybody went. And so you'd go there for your bourbons and your beers and your smokes. And so same thing as you, introduced to it at a very, very early age. Unbelievably, my grandfather was one of the first to actually get a liquor license in Pennsylvania through Prohibition. And
Wow.
that whole,
Wow.
and the way he did was pretty crazy in that at that point in time, you were unable to be able to serve alcohol, but you were able to go to an event. So behind Jersey's Corner, and it can be written because my kids all tease me that this is not a true story. He had a 600-pound black bear, three monkeys, and an alligator. And what people did is they came to visit what was basically equated to a circus. And there you were able to have your bourbons and your cigars. So I too was introduced to them at a very, very young age. And it was the same thing with just stories. My brother, who's 8 years older than I am, had a cigar store in Beaver County. And exactly the same thing. When you think back of having a good stick and having a conversation and the people that you're with, it truly turns into memories, which I think is what makes it so unique to have something like this and just be able to tell those stories that you can share and exchange with people, whether you meet them for the first time or whether they're lifelong friends. So same way as Andrew, it started at a very early age. Yeah.
I like it. So with that early experience, I'm sure that's kind of shaped your flavor profile in your palate. What's your go-to profile?
You're going to find very quickly that he and I so complement each other, but because we're so different.
Yin and yang.
Here I am, yin and yang. Here I am with the milder Connecticut wrapper, just that smoke and
Esteli,
and
Nicaraguan,
Maduro.
Yeah,
The
as strong
Polo.
as possible. Yeah, I love that stuff.
That's
Yes.
I like the bold wines. He likes the softer wines. I love heavy, smoky scotches. You know, I think over the years I've learned to like really go for the power profiles. Just,
I like it.
I started the same thing. So my family's from England. We immigrated here when I was about 3 years old, and so my dad was into scotches, and my uncle too that I used to hunt with, and the Glenmorangie was like the family scotch that everybody drank, and so I learned about that, and then I got into bourbons and worked my way through rye, and I ended up back in like Islay, Scotland, and like the really heavy smoky scotches now. So
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. I would say my profile is probably right in between you guys.
yeah.
Right, like that medium plus
yep.
is probably where I typically find myself.
Yeah.
But on a after a nice steak, I can probably do a heavier,
Yeah.
like a more full bodied.
Yeah.
But other than that, I kind of gravitate towards medium plus.
I think mine's just more of the moment in time, right? Like where is that moment in time? Are you had you just finished a great steak, or are you out on the golf course? Or I think I gravitate to what's happening in the moment in time as to what stick I would prefer. Yeah.
I think I find myself smoking cigars in the evening time, which I think it makes sense to have something stronger. Like on the golf course, I probably wouldn't have something so strong.
Yeah.
But definitely, like the majority of my stock is the heavier stuff, just because I think I have it after dinner, and I've already had a big meal or whatever. So now it's like time to have like a really strong cigar
Gotcha.
to finish that off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I think I was sharing with you, Brad, my daily routine.
Oh my gosh, this is so good.
So I'm typically I'm an early riser, so I do a lot of work early. I'm talking 5-6 o'clock.
I'm a night owl. We're the opposites too.
Yeah, and so
Same thing.
I'm up early doing it, just getting it done right, and then I break around 10, go get coffee, and then go have a stick. So that naturally would be a medium.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
while I'm in there having the stick mid morning, I'm strategizing and setting up for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And then I'm hard at it for a while. And to your point, later in the evening, if I do have a chance, it's probably something that's a little more full.
Yeah.
What is enough?
Yeah.
But everyone's a little different, right? And that's the
Yeah.
beauty. That's the beauty of cigars, because you could be a medium or a full person and figure out that you may want to have an opportunity to try something new.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily fit your profile.
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I like that. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, I've noticed. I had a coffee with a medium cigar once, and I was like, "This is really good." I had no idea,
I really like
Yeah,
this.
I've always associated the bourbons and the scotches with cigars. The first time I had a coffee with it, I was like, "Oh my god, this is like a whole new world to me." Yeah.
There's
Totally
one cigar that I'm not a huge fan of flavored or infused, but sometimes with my morning coffee,
Yeah.
I will have a nub triple roast.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
I won't smoke it at the lounge though, like because obvious reasons, right?
Right.
But if I'm
Yeah.
by myself with a nice cup of coffee,
Yeah.
the nub triple roast is a beautiful match with a cup of coffee in the morning.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely recommend that.
All right, I'll try that.
So I'd love to know more. I mean, we've had an opportunity to chat off camera, but I'd love to know more about your backgrounds, both personally and professionally. And I'd love to be able to get into the company and talk about the product. So,
Is my wife of 30 years going to see this? Because it can be a long series of ups and downs when you're entrepreneurially spirited. Let's call it that. Yes.
Well, I can start.
absolutely.
I started in the golf industry in 1998.
Okay.
I started at Cleveland Golf, and I worked there for about 3 years and developed a ton of product. And I got my intro into like I had an industrial design degree, and they were looking for somebody who could like rebrand and design products to like elevate the company. They were a wedge company, right? And they wanted to get into, metal woods and irons and everything in between. And so I spent about 3 years there redesigning their logo, their branding, their equipment, like working with athletes. And I got like this immersed into engineering around golf equipment.
Sure.
And I did all this great work, and then the company was sort of like, okay, we're good now. We want to keep everything like this. And I was like, well, that's not what I do. I keep innovating. And so I got an opportunity to go work for Callaway Golf. And so I left Cleveland, went to Callaway. I always wanted to work for Ely Callaway, from Georgia, Southerner. Like he's got this great history of like Burlington factory, Burlington Fabrics, Callaway Wines. Like he built 3 companies, from scratch basically. And so I had an affinity to want to work with him. And some of my family's from Georgia, and they sort of knew the families, and so I always wanted to work there. And then soon, go back to cancer. He passed away a month after I started. He had pancreatic cancer, so I only got to work with him for like 3 days. And I watched the company kind of implode afterwards. Like all the leaders trying to take over. It was a public company, and so I was thinking to myself, look, it was a really toxic environment because it was just, at that time, there were different leaders trying to, vie for power in the company. And so, I thought to myself, like, where else could I go? And so, obviously Tiger Woods was, coming to fame, or had come to fame. And so, I interviewed with Nike Golf, and I got an opportunity to become the head designer at Nike Golf from 2004 to 2016. So, and I thought, once I get there, I'm never going to leave, right? I mean, Nike's this amazing behemoth of a company. I had the freedom to go make some crazy equipment and push the envelope and like push the rules, like, just be irreverent. It was like a really great place for like a creative person to be. But unfortunately, Nike wanted to get out of the industry the same time Adidas wanted to get out, and they sold TaylorMade Golf. And so I got laid off in 2016, which is probably the hardest thing to do as somebody in their mid-40s, is to be the sole provider for your family and go through a layoff. And so I help anybody out there who's had to go through layoffs. It's really, really hard to do. But anyway, so I got out of there, and I found a company called Cry Precision that was making a elite military gear. And I was like, oh, this is a brand new opportunity for me. They're in New York. We wanted to move out of the West Coast and go try something different. So we moved to the East Coast, and I started designing equipment for like the Delta Force, the Navy SEALs. I did some stuff for the British SAS and the Australian SAS. That's really cool stuff. I made a fat suit for the Australian SAS, or helped innovate this idea where you could look like a sort of fat Australian guy, like with a Phosphorus can in your hand, but underneath this thing would have like all your weapons and radios and all this stuff. So it was all hidden underneath. It was really cool. So one of the most fun projects I did for a long time. And it was like impact mitigation. It was like getting weight out of things. Everything I'd done with golf equipment, right? They're always trying to make things lighter, faster, stronger. And so it was pretty amazing. And at the same time, I had an interview with TaylorMade Golf. The CEO, David Abley's an unbelievable human. And there was no opportunity for me there, but he wanted to do an informational interview with me just to find out more about me, because he'd heard all the stuff I'd done in the past. Gotcha. And so we just stayed in touch for a long time. And then COVID went through, and got laid off again, went through all that again. They started my own design consultancy. And at about this time, a phone call I get from this guy over here, Brad Jersey, about this really wild project that he was getting involved in. Was, again, impact mitigation, trying to get weight out of things, but this time it was about saving lives with traumatic brain injuries. And so it was really interesting. So maybe you're probably the best to talk about it, because you started this.
Yeah, I can pick it up from there, because and reel back to my history of experiences. very similar in a lot of different ways as to Andrew's, which is maybe one of the reasons why he and I are, we get along so well and think so much alike. So I started out in the airline industry, and I've always been in sales and marketing capacities in one way or another, and was at American Airlines for about 8 years, crushing at a time when the airline was trying to be able to move itself and navigate itself from a regional airline to the national global airline that it is today. So I had the pleasure of actually working for Bob Crandall, who is a bit of a legend in the airline industry. And if people want to know if it's really true that did he smoke 4 or 5 packs of cigarettes a day and then also run 4 or 5 miles a day, he did. But he was also a brilliant strategist, which is where I learned marketing and sales strategy. But very much like Andrew, corporate America is tough, and there's personalities, there's individuals and people that are always trying to navigate, and he and I are very similar in the fact that if somebody looks you in the eye and shakes your hand, you just go, okay, that's a trusted relationship, and that's not always the way that it is. The other thing that happened in the airline business for me, Gulf War hits, price of fuel changes by a penny, and I went from, I think, having 700 employees to, that worked for me to basically I had to lay everybody off. Yeah. And at that point, I became like Norm from that Cheers episode where you're weeping on the other side of the table trying to have to lay people off. Sure. And they actually allowed us to actually choose ourselves to exit, which is what I did. And then I went to one of those outplacement firms, Drake Beam Morin, that actually did the psychological profile, and they said, you're a promoter. And I didn't even really know what a promoter meant.
Like your grandfather.
Like my grandfather. And I actually never realized that. Yeah. And so I was living in Los Angeles and dating my wife at the time, who ultimately is my beautiful wife of 30 years as of this past week. Wow. And literally I wanted to get into the entertainment industry and couldn't get in because it was very narrow and small and I had no opportunity. And what was great is I took all the corporate experience and ended up going to Baltimore, Maryland, Timonium, Maryland, with a husband and wife that were second generation with an event company and an event platform that was never going to get to the third generation, right? They just don't, right? That's how difficult it is to do. They wanted to bring it to a liquidity event, and we were able to be successful in that after 3 years. And so my wife and I moved back to Timonium, Maryland. I yarded her out of Manhattan Beach, California to there, which that was another story.
I was going to say, that's a whole different story.
Oh my gosh, Steve, that was a whole other, there could be a whole other show on that one. Yeah. But it was great. And I learned the things that I loved, which was that I wasn't a corporate person. That wasn't my DNA. I was a sales and marketing strategist. That was what I loved to be able to do. We did that, we were very successful, and then unbelievably an opportunity came about to move out to Portland, Oregon, which is where we've lived for the last 25, 30 years. And it was to replicate almost the exact same thing. It was like a rinse and repeat. And it was 2 guys that had a business. They had a very successful series of technology shows that we knew could be really organically cloned. And we did that, and we sold it to a group of investors out in New York, Warburg Pincus. And unbelievably, as you would expect, I stayed on as the CEO, and it was an unmitigated disaster. At that point, I was started to be asked questions like, do you know that Andrew's 0.25% less productive than he was when we purchased this company 6 months ago at an enormous multiple? And I didn't even know what Andrew was when you purchased the company. So come on, where is the entrepreneurial spirit?
Yeah.
And ended up exiting there and started to be back involved in the airline business, which I loved, and started producing events again, which I loved, and then got involved in producing the College Football National Championship, which I loved, and it was executing on the sponsorship activations of all the lead sponsors of college football, Cap One, Allstate, AT&T, Dr. Pepper. We would make sure that what they were doing and the fan experience was matched. And then COVID hits. And for anybody that's ever been a part of the event industry, when COVID hit, it was like shutting the lights out.
Sure.
I mean, people it was shutting the lights out. It was like you had a company today and you didn't have a company tomorrow. And so didn't really know what exactly to do, and got invited to a conversation incredibly with a group of biomechanical engineers and surgeons out of Portland that were studying traumatic brain injury. And they had funding and sourcing, and their science and technology was already in Trek cycling helmets and Burton snowboarding helmets, and they wanted to bring to market an industrial and construction helmet because that's where the most significant risk of TBI is, because people don't realize that traumatic brain injury is caused by something called rotational acceleration, where your brain shifts inside of your skull, and 65% of TBIs come from slips, trips, and falls of 6.5 feet. It's not getting hit by a brick in the top of your head. It's me getting up and tripping and falling into the lights. Yeah. That's what causes it.
Wow.
And incredibly, they wanted to bring this helmet to market, and I wasn't exactly sure that I knew, but instinctively my strategy side kicked in, and I said, can you just let me make a phone call? So I called a friend at Nike, and I said, hey, here's the project, this is what they want to do, this is what they're looking at, and literally, here is now the roads aligning for he and I. And my friend Brian Capel said, there's one guy in the United States, if you want to call, that understands striking an object with another, and you got to call that guy. And I picked up the phone and I called Andrew, and we've been partners and friends ever since. And it was a successful venture in bringing to market an industrial construction helmet that is out there today, WaveCell. And it was an honor to be able to watch Andrew work alongside the biomechanical engineers and the surgeons in bringing this helmet to market, while I took the other lane of just doing all the marketing aspects of what we needed to do to get it to market.
Gotcha.
And it was enormously successful.
Beautiful.
And along the way, we were just such good friends. I got a chance to learn more of the story that he's already shared with us, and we just started talking about his hundreds of inventions that he's been a part of, and I think Tübr was born.
Yeah.
So you guys spent time designing and bringing the helmet to market.
Yeah.
Designing, manufacturing, engineering, the whole thing, because they had to do it in America. They couldn't go anywhere else during COVID. Yeah, that was the hardest part. So they needed somebody who had the expertise or knowledge to market the product as well as design and develop it. And so.
And the partnership was created by a cold call.
It was.
Literally you picking up the phone.
Literally a cold call.
And calling Andrew.
Literally a cold call that I didn't
Yeah.
even get 2 minutes into the conversation, and he said, I'm in. And then he told a story that would make us all cry with regards to
my son,
and we literally instantly gravitated to each other. He's living in New York. I'm living out in Oregon. We have a group of hospital system guys, so marketing went out the window. You had to be very laser focused on everything that you said, had a cited source, but it had to be designed. But it was a cold call that brought us together.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
It's
amazing.
crazy is what it is. Yes.
And so from that experience and working together, you moved from WaveCell into prototyping and developing the concept around Tübr?
Yeah, so my original design was actually this one right here, which I brought, which is kind of cool. So I was like learning how to mill metals and woods, and like how can I put something together for the cigar industry. So I called this the Robusto at the time, and it's like pretty cool concept where, I was trying to make, this is kind of loose now, this is old, so like the wood's dried out as you can see, but it was really tight, and I had a little air hole at the top of here, and what would happen is you put it on, you'd push all the air out, and my thinking was like they would hold it in a sort of sealed state where air couldn't get in or out. And because you're pushing and once you put a cigar in here, you fill this tube, and as you put it in, you push all the excess air out, which then would put it in sort of what we call a hermetic seal, where air can't get in and can't get out, and there's really no environment in there. Kind of like a double pane window where you can't transfer the humidity or the temperature out of the product. And so it was like a really simple yet difficult thing to engineer.
Gotcha.
To figure out how to make something that I could travel with, because I fish a lot and I golf a lot, and I travel all the time. So I was thinking, how can I keep my cigar safe without having some big elaborate case
Sure.
that I could just throw in my golf bag, throw in my fishing tackle box, throw in my my briefcase or whatever, and have this with me on the go. And so that was sort of how it was born. And we were getting out of the WaveCell industry, right? We sort of done our work.
We had done what our work was. We were
years.
retained to do that work, and we didn't own it. It was theirs, and we had all these varying levels of conversation, and this became one of them.
Yeah.
And you can appreciate that with the way he is and the way I am, we looked at each other and said, man, we have something here. Like there's actually something here. I didn't even know exactly what the something was, but we knew that we had something, and we said we got to follow this path. We need to see what we actually have. Yeah.
Yeah, so I started making some prototypes. This was one of the first ones. I built this in CAD, right, in 3D, and I started learning about tolerances and O-ring details. And so, like, an O-ring is designed to hold about 1,500 psi, which, you know, you could take this down to, like, if you have a mechanical, like, screw-in system where it actually puts it in there and it's super tight, you know, you could take this down a couple hundred yards underwater, you know, meters underwater. It would hold it within this tension. But then we realized you couldn't open it, right? Because you have to, like, unscrew it in a mechanical opening system. So, you know, we spent a lot of time trying to figure out how can I build some O-ring systems into this? How can I get these tolerances so perfect that, like, it just barely covers the O-ring and is able to go all the way down and then lock. And of course, this doesn't have a lock in it either. I hadn't figured out the lock part yet either. And then, you know, whole different lengths of cigars and widths of cigars. So we spent a lot of time. You can see this one says 655, so I was thinking 6-inch, 55 ring gauge. You know, that was sort of where I started. And so this was my first I forgot the word. Anyway, like a laser system that actually builds the plastics to make the plastic. So it's as strong as plastic, so I could do a lot of tests in there. Stereolithography. Sorry, there we go. And so it was just a test vehicle, and I made it clear so I could see what was happening. If water, you know, air was getting through it or out, you know, you could put smoke in there and push it and see if things came out. And so we did a lot, just, you know, visually trying to figure out how to make these things work. And
we're doing this, Steve, by the way, like, we didn't seek outside funding at that time. I mean, we're just going at it. Like, his skill set and my skill set, and trying to make 1 + 1 = 3.
Yeah.
And we just kept pushing the ball up the field. We just kept moving the ball up the field, and he kept improving it and making it better and making it better. And we were at a point where we said, we got to take a leap of faith, and, like, we got to figure out if we actually really have something. And it was July of last year that we chose to take our series of prototypes to the PGA Buying Summit in Frisco, Texas, and see what we had.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And
Gotcha. So I love this story. So fast forward, what happens at that show, and what's the next step for the company?
It was pretty crazy because
Yeah.
I think we, in some ways, we had hand puppets that we were trying to be able to articulate what is and I say this so much now, but this product looks so exceedingly benign to the eye. But as you just hear him talk, it was years, really, of trying to be able to design it in the fashion that he wanted. But we had to figure out, right, if we had something. So we go to the show in July at the Buying Summit and literally end up on the Golf Channel. So I call him and I go, well, I think we have something. And they ended up doing a segment on us on the Golf Channel because they had selected 2 or 3 products that they just thought were a little bit uniquely different. Mm-hmm. And truly, at that point of July of last year, Tübr was born. It was really born. And then, which is such a blessing to have it happen the way that it did, all of the people that we were working with helping us bring the helmet to market, a lot of them, we just went back to the same individuals to help us to figure out how to be able to truly manufacture this and get this done. And they're our business partners today. And so we literally said, it's July, stake in the ground. You know, there's a great line of one of my old business partners said, and if you make your goals public, you're more likely to keep them.
Sure, absolutely.
And we not only put that stake in the ground in July, we then said the next stake in the ground that we have to have is we actually have to have a physical product by January of this past year, which was the 28th to the 30th, which was the PGA Merchandise Show, which is the largest show in the world. It's 1,400 exhibitors, 50,000 attendees from all over the world. And at that point, the hammer was down in trying to be able to do what we were doing. However, there's a twist to the story because Andrew...
Yeah. So after we started prototyping and getting the samples made, and
you're going to say, I love this conversation, by the way, Steve.
Yeah. We're getting our first samples being made up. We're on a path where we figured out how to make these things work, and it's really cool. You'll even notice with these, when you open them really quickly, just to show they're under a vacuum, they like pop, right, like a champagne bottle. So essentially, you're pushing all the air out and you're sealing it so that the air is not getting back in. And so we had just gotten to this point, and then I get basically...
and then I get this phone call.
Yeah. I'm being potentially I might work for TaylorMade Golf. So the relationship that I made with the CEO back in 2016, an opportunity showed up in end of 2023. Sorry.
23.
Yeah, where I could go become basically the director of product creation for a few of the categories at TaylorMade. And I'd always told DA, like, there's no other golf company I would ever want to work for after getting out of the golf industry. I was like, TaylorMade had the irreverent, like, design chops of what Nike was. They were golf centric. They were passionate about the sport. I've been passionate about the sport. I have 760 patents in golf. So I just felt like it was like the right thing to do was to get back in the golf industry and then help these guys at the same time, because I could use my knowledge, and just keep helping to support coming up with prototypes and figure out how to manufacture these products at the same time and pay for it. And so, like, I went off on that journey as well. Brad, I basically gave the reins over to Brad to say, I need you to kind of take this thing over. I'm going to support it. I'm a night owl, right? So I'm going to support it every night. I'm going to build the CAD files. I'll work with the factories. They're 12 hours difference it was anyway. So, I can really focus on golf during the day and I can focus on Tübr at night. And so I've been doing that for the last 2 years.
Yeah, so you can imagine that phone call where we're rolling and I'm excited and I'm all jacked up, excited to go. And it's like, hey, man, I got the phone call, and here's what I'm going to do. And at that point, I either had to panic, but I knew we had something. I knew we had something uniquely different, which is some of the conversations you and I have had, which is just, it's different. People can't get their head around the why.
Yeah.
And I looked at him, and we trust each other implicitly, and he said, go, just go make it happen.
Yeah.
And so it's been really extraordinary to think of the people that have come into our lives since this journey has started. And so we really have other business partners that aren't sitting here, but we call it the legs of the stool. And everybody has a different responsibility.
Sure.
You try to find your genius lane and stay in it. So we have people that are experts in vertical categories. We have people that are experts in the ability to be able to manufacture this product. We have Andrew's genius in the intellect of the science of this utility patent that goes into this. And we just went after it. And the January show was kind of extraordinary. We ended up coming out of that PGA merchandising show as the best overall new product design by the Inventors Showcase at the event, and it's been pretty crazy and fun since then.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So it was the January show where you had product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you shared the product at the show.
Yep.
And there was a competition as it
It
relates
was.
to
Yeah.
new entrants into the market.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
what did that look like? How many folks were?
It was pretty crazy because everybody that sees this product that are friends of mine instantly says, you need to go on Shark Tank. Like literally, it's almost
You hear it all the time.
All the time.
Yeah,
like everybody goes, you need to take that on Shark Tank. It's like it's the scrub daddy, right? And it's like because they look at it and go, okay, really, take it, like because they see our passion for it. So the way they set it up at the show is that there were new product showcase. So I think it was like 50-ish, 45-ish, 50 exhibitors that were at this massively scaled event. And then they narrowed it down to sort of the top 20. And you truly had to present like it was Shark Tank. So they had the exhibit hall had about a 500 seat area. And you presented to 3 guys that had been on Shark Tank. One guy had actually sold his business for like $100 million. Somebody from the Inventors Showcase and somebody from the PGA.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
we presented, and you had 4 minutes to tell your story, and they had 4 minutes to ask you questions. And so I went up and tried to do my thing. And
Trying to do his thing.
Oh, no.
The pro.
Yeah.
and I
No.
tried to do my thing.
Let me try this. See how it works.
And we told our story,
Yeah.
and ended up winning the best overall new product, which was pretty crazy. So, it was literally that 4 minutes to say what our vision is for this, and 4 minutes to pepper us with questions about why it's not going to work. And we answered those questions appropriately because we ended up coming out with that, with winning that award, which has been pretty humbling since. But when you think about it, this has been a journey for him. When I stare at that thing, years in the making,
Yeah.
yet as a company, we're 217 days old.
Yeah.
Wow.
is what we are.
That's amazing.
It's pretty wild to
Yeah.
think about it in those terms, and it's hard not to get emotional when you think about it, because we know where this company is and where it ultimately can be and the things that we're doing, and it's crazy to think that we're really just 217
We're a
days. We're a startup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, a couple things that I've gleaned from our conversations, and a couple of feelings around my initial impressions of the product. I'm not sure when I first saw the Tübr product, probably on social media.
Right.
I didn't know why I wanted it. I just knew I wanted it.
Yeah.
And I had a bunch of cigar cases.
Yeah.
Right? I've got
Yeah.
things everywhere.
Right.
But the look and the appeal, I'm like, okay, I'll get to the technology later, why it's technologically superior. The look and the aesthetics was something that I was immediately on board with. I think that's what grasped people
Yeah.
from the very beginning, right? Like,
Yeah.
it emotes those feelings without even touching or feeling the product.
Yeah.
I just knew I had to have one,
Yeah.
right? And so it's amazing to couple a beautiful, aesthetically pleasing product with something that's technologically advanced, which is awesome.
That has the
Yeah.
science. And we know our lane. We're not
Yeah.
trying to be a humidor.
No.
We're not trying to be
Nope.
any of those things. We know what our lane is, and he understands what the science is. So creating something that stays in a hermetic seal, that's our lane, and how and the utilization of that, and how it can apply not only to the industry and the sticks that we're smoking, but to other things. And I think that's what has me excited when you think about what I try to focus on as my genius lane of the marketing aspects and the strategic side of that.
Sure.
That it really is Tübr's a blue ocean of opportunity for us. And you and I talked about that earlier, of just making sure that we stay thoughtful and we stay focused on what we're doing today, but with the knowledge of what it ultimately could be. We just know it's not a function of whether it's going to be successful. It's just how large and how successful it can be if we stay authentic, if we stay true to who we are, if we stay true to the science, and we just stay inside the lines of what we know is the right story to be able to tell. And that's what we're doing now with having the opportunity to meet people like yourself, and getting feedback that we can react to be able to continually make improvements and continually to just tell our story in the right fashion and in the right manner.
Yeah, no, I like it. I mean, as an entrepreneur that's running a startup as well, a couple things strike me, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this. Is that you go from creating an idea and a concept in your head.
Yeah.
You get a team around you,
Yeah.
advisors or otherwise, helping you guide you in the right direction.
Yeah.
And then once you do launch, you immediately get feedback.
Oh,
Right? You're going to get good feedback and negative feedback. Where I have always struggled is not in the negative feedback, because I like to learn from opportunities,
Right.
but in the good feedback. I have so many people that want to partner, want to create these strategic relationships.
Right.
And my struggle has been, with limited time and limited resources, how do you pick the right partner?
Correct.
How are you assessing the opportunity? How are you assessing the people? Because people don't do business with companies; they do business with people, right? So
Yeah.
I spend time trying to understand. Look, I understand what the partnership can look like,
Yeah.
but am I going to be in a better position by going into business or partnering up with these individuals? And that's the tough part.
Yeah.
Because you have so many, you're going to have more opportunities than you have time and resources to address them.
Correct.
Sure.
So how do you get to the relationship piece and making certain that the folks that you're choosing to work with are folks that have your best interest and theirs at heart at the same time?
Yeah.
It's a delicate balance.
Yeah.
We had a really good experience with the wave cell piece too, with different distributors and developers, and trying to bring people together. And we sort of weeded out the ones that we didn't like working with, and we kept the ones that we do like working with. So it was a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And then just like staying in our lanes too. Like
Yeah.
we're hiring people that just accentuate areas that we aren't good at, right? So we've got like really strong developing team, because I can't go to Asia and do these things now. We have people that do that.
Yeah.
From a marketing side, we've got a really strong marketeer now.
Just
that-
brought on a chief marketing officer.
marketing officer is
about
just
30
blowing
days
us all
ago,
away,
who just
yeah.
knows her lane, and you got to have a trusting relationship.
Yeah.
That you have to feel that authenticity to who you're working with. And when you heard our story of both of us with where we were born and raised and it grew up, you have to be able to know that you have that connection of somebody that you can trust. And so clearly that, and you have to be able to look on either side of you and treat it like it's a athletic event and know that you've got people that are flanking you on either side that know what they're doing, and you just have to trust them that they do. And we vet a lot. Like we cast away more relationships than we take on at the moment, just because all of a sudden you're the shiny penny that everybody wants to hang out with, and you have to just be a little bit careful about that.
Yeah. Gotcha. No, it makes sense.
And thoughtful.
No, makes sense. So I like the I like the product. I've had an opportunity to use it. It's standard in my bag now, right? Like
I love
wherever
that.
I'm going,
Love
it's standard in my bag.
Well, we're going to make it a little bit better in a second. So
We're going to make it a little bit better in a second,
Yeah.
but what's also pretty crazy is that why I love it from a marketing perspective is that you have these two devices. Again, they look fairly benign, but they're not. They have the same science that is all built on the utility patent that Andrew designed, but the intentionality of how we were going to use each was exactly that. This is the one that you're going to bang around, you're going to take that in your golf bag,
All
it's going to
plastic.
go everywhere with you. It's BPA food grade plastic. You can chuck that thing down the street. It's going to bounce everywhere.
Yep.
It's going to have all those same things. But then you have this one, which we knew because of his experiences in golf and my love of just things as a marketer, we thought, could we make this to actually achieve the exact same things with the science and technology, but have an ability to be able to be laser engraved, made out of aircraft grade anodized aluminum. The weight of this thing is so different than the weight of that one. And so this now becomes your collectible. So this is the one that comes in a really cool Apple-esque box that you can laser S, you can logo, and we wanted that to be uniquely different. So you can imagine, not only as we were designing the product itself, the design that went into the black box packaging, that we wanted to have the endorphins rattling around in your brain when you opened it that said, holy smokes, what am I getting? Wow, I'm actually at a location or a place that I didn't think I'd ever be at. And we wanted this one to be the collectible, and we wanted that one to be what you had, that you were going to be carrying around, that was going to go everywhere with you, that you knew was going to be nearly indestructible. So you can see that blue ocean of opportunity that we're so excited about, because we know that even these two products alone can speak to different audiences and demographics, which is what we love.
Yeah, no, I like it, and I like the fact that the full plastic version is something you can just toss in your bag. You don't have to worry about.
Yep.
But the aluminum, just like you said, it's a luxury product. And again, going back to when we met, I had an opportunity to chat with Danny, the brand ambassador.
Yep.
And we were just talking about things, right? He was understanding a little bit more about the podcast, a little bit more about my company.
Yeah.
And I was learning more about Tübr. And from that conversation, Danny mentioned that you guys were going to be in town. You were going to be in D.C.
Yeah.
the following week. So I'm like, hey, perfect opportunity. Absolutely, I'm there wherever you guys go. And Danny just off the cuff said, hey, if you have a second, just send me a JPEG of your logo, of your Stogie Hub logo.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that was like on a Friday, and I was meeting you guys in D.C. the following Friday, 7 business days.
Yeah.
And so I show up, and Brad hands me the Apple S box, as he says, the beautiful black box. I open the box, and I'm just dumbfounded, because they have put my logo on the aluminum Tübr, and I was just speechless. This is absolutely beautiful.
It's time.
I stopped talking for a minute.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was beautiful.
We didn't want to come empty-handed.
We didn't want to come empty-handed,
And we know
and I also want to tell you, thank you so much, because it's 2 times in D.C. in like 3 weeks for me. But it was so cool to just meet you at that event. But we were kind of waiting for the moment to have the moment, and so Andrew, I'll let you do the honors.
Yeah, so I can present with you a new version that coincides with this podcast.
Yes.
So please open that and take a quick look at that.
That's amazing.
So,
The burn and learn.
Yeah, so the
logo.
great thing about the aluminum is because we anodize with a food grade anodized type 2, like really durable anodization, we can laser etch the surface of that, and so we can do any logo, sort of black and white logo that way.
I'm speechless.
Yeah, but it gets better because on the PC version.
Well, because you got to. I mean, if you're going to have
Yeah,
that, remember,
you got
if we're
that.
going to sit here and tell you that there's two different
what can you do with a
mindsets,
color, a colored logo?
yeah, I mean,
So,
geez.
That's a really cool case. You can see where we got the idea for that Tübr case, but like there's another way to protect it as well when you have the in the aluminum. But we can pad print, very premium pad printing capabilities now too. So this is brand new for us as well. That we. Can
I'm not
do.
allowed. I hope I'm not allowed to say it, but that is so badass. I can't stand it.
No, this is badass.
Yeah, it's badass.
I'm speechless. This is amazing.
Isn't it crazy?
Beautiful.
Yeah. So now, depending on which, if you want a pad print, we can go with the PC version like this, the polycarbonate, or if you want to do a laser where we're just basically doing it, the silver on black or the silver on our silver versions, we can do that with laser etching. So you can see how we can take one logo and make it look completely different.
Completely
on both
different.
products.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And the
Yeah.
leans with which are pretty wild because, as you would imagine, I mean, we have country clubs and resorts and collaborations going on with some of the market leaders today. Vessel Golf Bags, who is doing a collaboration with us with their product, and which is probably one of the hottest, best, fastest growing bags in the country.
Yeah.
But then you can also see that we just did an event in Seattle with Edgewater Wealth Management, and they wanted to thank their clients as a way to gift them. And so it became exactly what our vision was, which was a different, unique collectible for people to be able to give. No disrespect to the Peter Millars of the world that have their hats and their shirts and their G-Force shoes and all of that. And,
Oh, yeah.
But we wanted something different. We wanted something that would be the wow factor, and that what you just experienced allows us to be able to share that with our audience, which is so cool, which is why we are excited about this.
No, that's beautiful. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
We were waiting for the moment, and Danny kept saying, "You got to wait till the end. You have to wait till the end." And we were like, Andrew and I go, "No, we're going to wait
gonna
for the
find
right
the
moment.
moment.
We're going to find the right moment."
Yeah.
So you kind of threw us a softball, whether you knew it or not.
Yeah.
Not planned at all.
Not planned at all.
Planned at all.
Jeez. Yeah.
That's beautiful. So I think the week that I spoke to Danny on the phone
Yeah.
was the week that the Cigar Aficionado article came out, and so
Yeah.
I'm reading the article, and I think I spoke to him the next day,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I can't believe I'm having this conversation. These guys have just been featured in Cigar Aficionado,
Yeah.
and then have the opportunity to meet with the team, a week later.
Yeah.
Was just something that I really relish. It's been a wonderful opportunity, and it's been a great relationship thus far.
Yeah, thank you. We're really excited about just what you're doing and your vision for this. And it just mirrors a lot of what we're ultimately wanting to be able to do as we continue to evolve and tell this story. And I think that that's what people love, is that there's the benign aspect of what it looks like, backed by a science that has a utility patent, that has a story attached to it, that started years ago by two guys just having the good fortune of being able to be brought together. There is a story, and think about how cool it is. We started this discussion about how much we love a good stick because it's attached to a good story.
Yeah.
Well, there's a good stick and a good story and a good product. So it really is 1 + 1 = 3, which is fun for us.
Yeah, no, I love it. So what's next? I know you guys are moving very fast. Exposure's been very high.
Yeah.
What's next for Tübr?
We feel like there's a lot of different opportunities and different businesses that we can bring this to. All sorts of products that you could keep under pressure or under, humidification is one area. The other is just storing it tightly so that, like coffee, for example, you could probably go down that route, and military and camping, and so we're thinking about that. When I started this process of developing it, I was very fortunate to be in New York, in Long Island, in in a very Italian sort of mafioso area where a lot of the mafia started, and so you can imagine my neighbors were all heavy cigar smokers, as well as extremely.
You actually said that.
opinionated.
He said that now that he doesn't live there.
Yeah, no, the house I lived in was actually owned by one of the most notorious hitmans in the mafia, and I actually lived on a canal. You can imagine what some of those canals were used for back in the day. But I did a lot of fishing, and I got to hang out with a lot of cigar guys. But some of the neighbors too that were very opinionated about it, and I would show them prototypes, and they would give me feedback, and they would test them, and it was unbelievable. Just these hardcore New Yorkers. I love them. But some of them were also smoke cannabis, and so they're like, you need to make pre-rolls. I'm like, I don't even know what a pre-roll is.
Literally,
Like, what is that?
Like, what is that?
So
and I live out in Oregon. It's like, what is this? I don't even know.
So this is the first concept we made, was like a pre-roll version. You could probably we were looking at mini cigars at the time, but like you can imagine 2 pre-rolls in there. You go to a concert. Whatever you want to do, you can put them, you can snuff them, you can put them back in there and snuff them, which I'd never do that with a cigar, but it's a normal behavior for this type of product, and so that sort of came about, and then from there was like loose leaf. So people buy like an eighth, which is 4 grams of loose leaf product, and so this is stash, and you can see here that you can hold. You could go to the store, you could get your eighth, put it in here, close it, and then bring it home. And it's unbelievable. You can put very stinky product in here.
Yeah.
I put them in bags. You can leave it in here for a week, open it up, and there's no smell. But as soon as you open this up, like the whole room.
Oh man,
smells,
you'd light up the whole room.
Yeah.
Wow.
We actually, the PGA Buying Summit that we were at, that we soft launched in July of last year, that we just came to because we went to the January show, won the award, which was so humbling. Then we had to come back, obviously, to the Buying Summit just this past July. So what we chose to do this time, because at the merchandise show, we had these floating on top of a tank that had goldfish in it, because the product floats, which is also stunning to people when they try to get their head around like actually all the things that it can do. And this time, we literally, this past July, I put stuff in it. I put garlic, I put different things in it, and I would just challenge people to do a little bit of a shell game.
Yeah.
And you tell me which one, unless you're a really good guesser, you're not going to be able to guess what's inside this. It just isn't going to happen.
No.
Because it's odor. It's as odor resistant as one thing could possibly be.
Yeah.
So when you ask the question about what the vision is, now the guy that, like, they tease me that I'm sort of like, I think like Walt Disney, right? I mean, and I actually truly believe in my heart of hearts, with the big, hairy, audacious goal, is that Tübr will be the Yeti of premium storage for the outdoor lifestyle. That is, I've always thought that. His vision, we know the products that we can make. We know the applications in the marketplaces. This not only holds what Andrew just talked about. I carry my vitamins and my blood pressure medicine and all kinds of things in here.
Yeah.
We can make one of these that can hold an EpiPen, or so there's the vision and the product is endless. So now we're back to that blue ocean, which I have to occasionally just have to now take a deep breath and settle and focus in on what the intentionality was at the start, and make sure that we stay true to that, and then allow the evolution as we get market feedback, as we're out talking and having conversations as to what can this ultimately be.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
No, so you're off to a magnificent start. I mean, the cigar
Thank you.
case is, again, great hit. Again, I'm sure
Thank you.
people are really enjoying it. I know I absolutely love the product. But to both of your point, the applicability of the technology in the other sectors and other products, it's almost limitless.
It's insane. And you know what's
So
funny?
it's just a function of figuring out which market is going to be the next best attractive market to enter into.
Yeah, and everybody always says to us, I get this all the time, because I'm the one that's always out there, and it's like they go, well, aren't you worried about competitors, right? And like somebody's going to try to knock you off and this and that. And invariably they will, but at the end of the day, we also know how much time went into getting this right.
Sure.
And to doing what it said it could do. So I challenge someone to try to be able to figure it out, because I'm sitting next to the smartest guy I know, and it took him months, if not years, to be able to get this right. So bring it on.
You're not worried about it. Absolutely.
I'm not gonna lose sleep over that one.
no.
I just can't.
No,
Yeah.
I absolutely appreciate that. And this has been a great opportunity. I've really enjoyed
Thank you.
having the opportunity to again have yet another conversation with you guys. I'm looking forward to what lies ahead for you as well as Stogie Hub and the podcast. So again, I want to really extend a heartfelt thank you for the travel, right? Coming in both from the West Coast for the podcast. Absolutely appreciate that, and
Absolutely.
look forward to partnering and working on some things going forward. So
Thank you. I think there's a lot of fun things ahead for the three guys sitting here and our partners that are back on the West Coast. I think we're going to do a lot of fun things together. And thank you for inviting us in. We really genuinely appreciate it, and we feel very flattered to be able to have this conversation. Thank you.
Well, beautiful. Well, again, thanks, gentlemen. Look forward to continued conversations, and we will absolutely love to have you back on as we track the company's progression and its progress over the next several months. Looking forward to what lies next. And with that, again, we want to say thank you to our guests. We want to say thank you to Rebellion. And so with that, we'll go ahead and wrap. And again, as it relates to the podcast, you can get to the podcast on YouTube, Stogie Hub, or you can go to burn&learnpodcast.com if you want to check out not only the previous episodes, but episodes going forward. And with that, we'll wrap and tell everyone good evening.
Thanks for lighting one up with us. That was Stephen Mann. And you've been listening to Burn and Learn, the Cigar Lifestyle Podcast. Brought to you by Stogie Hub. Elevate your cigar game. This episode was a full production by Access Studios. Access the power of video. Don't forget to visit our YouTube channel for exclusive content and hit that subscribe button to stay updated.